everyone, welcome to QA Labs for you. This is another episode of QA SAMVAAD Season 2. Today we have a special guest who has developed his expertise into security testing. He is also part of so many tech talks in Nigeria. So without wasting any more time, I'm just calling Kingsley on the show. Hi Kingsley, how are you?
I'm doing great, Sri. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Me too, I'm also excited. And I think it would be better if you could give little intro about your work to the audience. That would be better start.
Okay, my name is Kingsley. Like you rightly mentioned, I have more than 5 years experience in software testing. I actually transitioned from civil engineering
Okay,
tech, so it was quite a journey for me. And I always tell people that I'm always excited to work in tech, solve
okay,
problems in tech, and do great job in tech. So I work with Sabi currently
okay.
as a QA engineer, testing both backend and front-end services.
Okay, great, great, great. So you are a civil engineer by degree, but you
Yes,
are a QA engineer by profession, right?
exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
great, great. But why you have opted for QA? Any specific reason?
Hmm, good question. So, I didn't really move into QA directly, right? I actually started my journey just learning web design, HTML, CSS, during my early days. And when I got my first internship, I wore so many hats. I was the business analyst, project manager, QA, web designer, and I didn't know I was actually doing QA. So I got really tired of the job and I was like, you know what? I'll have a conversation with my managing director. So I had a one-on-one conversation with him and he said, Kingsley, do you know that you can actually be a good QA? I said, what's QA? What's software testing? He said, you know what? You always ask questions during our meetings. You're always looking for bugs. You're always looking for ways to improve the system. So and he gave me some time to go and think through it and then make my decision. I came back
Hmm?
fully ready to jump into QA and no regrets, no regrets so far.
Great, great, Kingsley. I mean, you may be a BA, maybe a product owner, but right now you are a QA. That would be a good thing for us.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, I have seen you have a lot of interest into security testing. So I just want to understand why you have shifted towards security. Like, is there any specific reason?
Hmm. So something happened this year,
Okay.
January 2025. So I was just going through YouTube
Mm-hmm.
and I saw a recording by Lambda Test. So they had done a previous, like a webinar with Baz Dijkstra. Baz is a test automation consultant. I don't know
Okay.
if you know him. He's on LinkedIn. He's always doing great stuff. He's a great speaker. So I saw the stuff on LinkedIn, sorry, on YouTube, and
Mm-hmm.
I got interested on the webinar. I
Okay.
watched it. It was amazing. It felt like I don't know how to explain it. Baz explained API security
Mm-hmm.
to, and it was so enlightening. From that day, I told myself, you know what, I'm just going to go all in into this because in the QS space right now, we don't have much people talking about API security or security testing. Everybody's talking about AI,
Mm-hmm.
next test frameworks and the like. So you rarely see people talk about security. So the webinar was really, 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 really interesting. And he recommended a
Mm-hmm.
resource, which is APSEC University. I
Mm-hmm.
went there and I took a course. It was mind blowing. And the reason why I've stayed, one for me is the fact that not a lot of people are talking about security. And personally, I want to add my voice to that to help other QA engineers see the need, to test and not just test for functionality, for them to test for security. And lastly, I would say that API currently I think there was a research done where they asked several companies if they really do API security testing on their systems, and I think it was just 4% of
Mm-hmm.
the response that said we do API security. Other persons said they do performance, unit, and all of that. So it's still a gray area for me and for everybody, and I think I can add my voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite that's why I've stayed on it, and I wish to go far and further with it to spread the word.
Great, great. And I agree with your thought, Kingsley. Like, I do understand very few people are talking about the security testing, but I want to
Mhm.
understand why still QA are like most of the QAs are scared of moving towards security testing. Is there any challenge? Because you are now a security test engineer, right? You have moved into that part. So what could be the reasons?
I think for me, it's just awareness. Especially when people are transitioning into QA,
Mm-hmm.
they always tell them we have functional test, non-functional and functional, we have security, but nobody's just training them and teaching them how to do security testing. I think it's the awareness and how people are even getting into the field and into the profession. So they all come in and everybody wants to become an S-det. They want to become like, learn the next Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, and the likes. I think for me, it's just awareness. Lots of QAs are not, they don't really know that they feel security is not for us, it's for the cybersecurity expert. They don't know that out of curiosity, we can use curiosity, we can use common sense, to come up with scenarios when we are testing these, systems and, help catch bugs, security bugs on time, even before it gets to the security experts, right? So I think majorly it's just the awareness. A lot of people don't know. They feel it's still not in our space to do that job.
Okay, fine. And any misconceptions you have seen about security testing so far?
Yes, so for me personally, when I started my journey in January, I initially thought security was strictly mobile and web,
Okay.
right? Until started my journey, and then I noticed that API security, in fact, hackers
Mhm.
are more interested in your APIs than just a web interface.
Okay.
Because 83% of internet traffic right now, they are APIs. So one of the misconceptions I would think is, always thinking that security is just web and mobile, and we just discard or overlook APIs. So that was one. Secondly, just knowing that as a QA, there are things that I can do on my end when I have a product or an API to test. There are certain things I can do and figure out within my space that I have control over before it gets to the security expert. So just knowing that I can do something else, something extra, aside just functional testing, automating this stuff, right? So yeah, that was really, really an eye opener for me, just knowing that I can do something within my space.
Okay, fine. So, what are the areas you are focusing right now in security testing?
I've always been saying it's
Mhm.
strictly API security.
Oh,
Um, API security is where I currently focus on, and I hope to move on to others, but for now it's API.
okay, fine. So, suppose a new API developed, whether
Mhm.
it's a get or post, you can take it anyone. Okay,
Mhm.
it's developed and like moved into QA, and you have to do the security test for that API. How you would start?
Okay, so what I preach first of all is just understand the product and know what you're building first of all. Like I think that's generally what every QA would want to do, to know your product and know that this API is speaking to this stuff. So let's say there's something we call OWASP top 10,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like my guide on whenever I'm testing applications or APIs. That's my guide, right? The OWASP top 10. So we have the top three. One of them is the broken object level authorization.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first one, the broken object level authorization. I'll explain them. The second one is broken authentication. Third one is excessive data exposure. So let's say you have a post request, like endpoint that to work with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now let's say you create your account. So I would create an account as a normal user with the API, right? I'll create an account,
Yeah, yeah.
and usually when you create an account, it gives you an ID, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that account, you can log in
Yes,
with your details, right? And when you log in, it gives you an authorization token, correct?
correct.
Now, one of the rules of OWASP, number
Mhm.
one that says broken object level authorization. It basically means can user A see user B's data?
Okay.
So user A shouldn't be able to see user B's data for it. So if I've registered as Kingsley, I
Mm-hmm.
have my ID,
Okay.
and you register, and you have your ID,
Okay.
So what I would do first of all is I would use my token
Okay.
with your ID and
Got
try to see if I can see your data with the get response.
okay.
Sorry, with the get endpoint,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's clear. Like I would use my ID,
Mm-hmm.
log in with my details, get my token, and then I would use the get um, endpoint,
Mm-hmm.
right? For me to see my data, I have to log in and pass my ID, correct?
Yes.
Now, it will be a security issue
Mm-hmm.
if I can log in with my credential and then use your ID and use it to fetch with your ID and then be able to see your details. That would be a problem. So
Got it.
these are some of the scenarios
Mm-hmm.
that testers can look at. So that's number one, OWASP top 10 number one, which is user A shouldn't be able to see user B's data,
Okay.
correct? Yeah. Second one is broken authentication. So you could try out if an endpoint is supposed to have a token, like I said, you could remove it and then see how the system, behave, or you can just remove part of the token and then see how the system would behave. Because we've had cases, where users, even if they are not authenticated, they can still see their information, which is so it means if anybody gets a hold of that endpoint and your ID, it means they can see your data even without your permission. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the third one would be excessive data exposure. So imagine you're a valid user on a system, you
Mm-hmm.
have your ID, you have your token, right? And then you log in, you want to run your get endpoint, right? For example, so you log in and then you pass your ID
Okay.
and then you hit it, it gives you your data, right? You get to see your information, the
Right.
date of birth, everything about the things that you've added. And then for some reason, you're seeing the information of your admin.
Okay.
For some reason, you're seeing extra information that ordinarily shouldn't be exposed to you. It
Got
should be for, let's say, because you're not the admin of the system, right? So you're not supposed authorized to see that. So I tell people sometimes authentication is not authorization. Some
Hmm.
people think it's authorization. So both of them are not the same. It's not equal to
Right.
authorization. I might be authenticated to perform an action, but I'm not authorized to,
Authorized.
to do certain things. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. What are like your tools, preferred tools for security testing?
Okay. Basically what I preach is
Mm-hmm.
or when I teach all of these things in conferences,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to preach about a particular tool because I
Okay.
believe that you can literally use like
And
what I just explained to you. You could literally use the framework like rest assured, you could use Postman, whatever you want to use to simulate these scenarios. It's more about your mindset. How are you approaching your endpoint? So for now, I don't really preach about a particular tool. I'm more of, especially for QAs, I'm more of how do you approach it? What extra scenarios are you coming up with? Are you adding to these things? Because at the end of the day, your tests should give you valuable feedback. Your test should give you quality feedback, right? Because, like I said, we are not like the security engineers per se. They'll definitely move the product to them to do their job. So I don't really, really preach about it. So I feel like with common sense, curiosity, a QA can do a lot more with their APIs.
okay, fine. So, as a security engineer, what do you think about some common security risk QA should aware of?
Um, for me, I think I would say once you get a hold of, just understand the OWASP top 10. There's so
Okay.
many things around that. I think that should be your guide. For example,
Mm-hmm.
um, we have something called improper inventory management. It's one of the OWASP top 10. So imagine you're working in a team
Mm-hmm.
and all your APIs are scattered as a QA. You could advocate for that and tell them, hey, we need to version our APIs properly, you
Okay.
know, we need to version our APIs properly. These are things that you can advocate for. Just like I also mentioned about the first top three, excessive data exposure, you could look out for that. You could look out for broken object level authorization. You could look out for just on try and get a full understanding of the OAuth top 10. I think that's a good guide for any QA. Once you get a hold of that, it's a good starting point.
Okay, great. So, Kingsley, like in the starting, you were saying you are trying to spread the awareness about security testing, right? So, how exactly you are doing that?
Well, this year has just been extremely busy for me. I've done quite a number of speaking engagements.
Okay,
I think my first webinar was with a community here in Lagos, Nigeria called Testers Quarters.
okay,
I shared some insights on API security. I've spoken in some conferences. I spoke in one called Test Fest, where I did some demos, showed them how to, simulate this. So I've been speaking in different conferences, just sharing these things and awareness. I also participated in a writing, initiative.
mm-hmm.
I think like Texters Connect, yes. So I wrote a blog on API security, the different attack vectors that we need to look out for. I shared that on the blog. I think these are just my little way of sharing, creating awareness and see how people can get to know about API security, especially testers. In the next 2 weeks, I will be speaking to developers. I've been
Okay,
invited. I have been invited to speak for the first time with Google Developers Group. So this time around, I'm not going to be speaking to just testers. I'm speaking to developers. I'm looking forward to that because this time you're talking to devs, so you have to come prepared.
okay. So, how these talks are helping you in growing in career? I mean,
Personally,
these are actually helping or just like investment of time? What do you think?
well, like you said, investment of time. I can't just show up without getting prepared, without preparing myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has also grown my network, like in terms of the people that I now know, especially on LinkedIn. People like BAS, people like the APSEC University community. I have a lot of support system. Yes, so it has come with a lot of goodies in terms of the people that I know, and also I think most importantly is just having to know that you're touching lives, you're impacting, you're inspiring people. I think there was the last event that I did, a lot of people came on LinkedIn, shared their testimonials. They just shared their experiences, tagged me, and I was really, really happy. And that was a big, big encouragement, knowing that I'm doing the right thing. People are seeing my value, and yeah, that was really, really cool.
Okay. So, are you also part of some testing community?
Yes, I am. I currently facilitate
Mm-hmm.
API testing classes for SQA Marshall. So they're like a small community here in Lagos, Nigeria. Um, I teach API testing, helping them to understand how it is. I'm also part of Testers Connect. Like I said, I'm part of Testers Connect. I'm also part of the bug detective as well because I was a mentor. I think I mentored about 6 persons this year. Several communities I've actually contributed. I'm currently a part of, and it's been fun. When you go to events, you get to see people that you met online. It's like, hey, you take pictures together. It's been really, really, really fun.
I agree. And I believe like people like you are very important for spreading awareness of the security testing. It is important, I do understand, but the way you already like said, like because of awareness, we are not going towards or thinking towards security part. So I think
Exactly.
with all your efforts, somewhere someone will get inspired and start security testing very soon.
Exactly. Just to add to that, in fact, when I made a post the last time, so APSEC University featured my experience online and it, like posted it on their website. And somebody came on my DM on LinkedIn and said, Kingsley, thanks for the great work.
Right.
I feel inspired to go back to my learnings. And I told him, you have to go back, you have to go back. So, right, like, I'm just excited to see growth, to see people wanting to come back to the space and not just leave it for the experts alone.
Okay, great, great. Kingsley, one thing more I want to understand about the IT industry or the IT trend in Nigeria. As an
Oh,
Indian, I'm interested. Yeah.
okay, I think that's a great question. I would personally,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot has grown in the past, 5 years. I would say initially when I was starting my career in tech, especially in QA, I was I was lonely. I didn't have enough. There weren't a lot of communities that can support, that were willing to, support young people's transitioning. Everybody was moving towards software development and all of that. So it was really, really hard. I think right now, there are lots of communities, so you don't get to feel alone.
Right.
I can't even mention how many. There are lots of communities willing to help people, willing to help women, willing to help men. So in terms of community engagement, there are lots of communities right now in Nigeria willing to help and assist people transition into tech. Skill-wise, yes, lots of people are skilling up. You get to see lots of experts, people flaunting their degrees and the things that they've done, doing quality work. Um, in terms of AI, I think right now in Nigeria, this is my personal opinion, like my personal observation. I feel like this year in particular, we've had lots of conversations around AI,
Mhm.
right? So we don't want to be left behind. We're trying to, catch up and, meet up with the
Right.
global space. And I think that's really impressive because I was part of a panel,
Mhm.
um, like a panelist in a conference, and we talked about generative AI and how it's helping testers. And I think those are topics for the moment, topics that we need to be discussing about, right? So I think we are getting there. We're not lacking behind. We are getting there one day at a time.
Yep. Great to hear. And as you said about AI, so my question would be on AI, right? So
Okay.
what are the impacts of AI you have seen into security testing as of now in 2025?
The impact, I think I would speak to the positive impact, right? I think for me,
Mm-hmm.
like I would always say, it's already here and it has come to stay. You either embrace it or you're left behind. One of the positive impact I think is helping security engineers to focus on more important things, like the strategy and design.
Okay.
Because AI is currently helping engineers to generate tests
Okay.
and analyze those tests automatically. So, and I think that's a very, 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 very good thing. So it saves up, engineers, it saves up a lot
Time.
of time for them to focus on more important things like the strategy and design.
Okay, fine. Now I think the time for an important question that is related to roadmap. For
Mm.
anyone, for any QA who is already like experienced or a fresher, if he is interested to upskill as a security engineer, how he would, I mean, go further? What could be the roadmap for them?
Well, I would say personally, this is what I use, and I think it has worked for me.
Uh-huh.
First of all, stick with API security for a start. Get to understand. First of all, if you don't understand API testing, you have to understand API testing first of all, and then move on to understanding the top 10 OWASP, the OWASP top 10, that amazing resources on AppSec University's, website. You could start learning the foundation. And when you learn these things, please ensure to practice.
Okay.
Ensure you do. Don't just learn and post your certificate online. Hey, I'm done. Ensure you do something. So for me, what was the changer for me was, aside just learning and sharing my experiences, I was also going back to revisit my work, like my day-to-day job, the APIs I'm interacting with at work, coming up with great scenarios. I was like, oh, wow, I can actually do better here. Oh, I can actually bring up a great scenario, right? Another scenario here. So that sort of helped me to understand the concept. And lastly, I would say, join communities, and when you join communities, ensure you try to participate, ensure you engage and participate. And when you learn, try to teach other. You might not necessarily become a public speaker or an event that you could just share, put up a post on LinkedIn, write an article, or share with your friends, or a small teams meetup. You can just share because it helps a lot for the information to stick. So that's the roadmap I would give anybody. API security, join communities. When
Mhm.
you learn, ensure you practice, and then move on from there.
Okay, fine. And any certification or resources you would recommend?
Yes, so I started with AppySec University. Probably share the link with you at the end of the day. But I started with that. So there are lots of foundational courses there. You could take the foundation and just learn the stuff. You could learn it in a week or 1 or 2 weeks, depending on your schedule. There are lots of certifications. Personally have done the certified API security analyst certification. So that one speaks strictly about my knowledge of the top 10,
Okay.
API security, OWASP top 10 basically. So once you learn the top 10, you could literally just take that certification. I'm not really a big fan of certificates and certifications and all of that, but maybe it can just help validate you that, okay, you're on the right track and you're doing great work. So maybe I'll share the link with you and then your viewers can check it out and pick up the foundational courses from there. And you can as well use other resources online if you want.
Thanks, Kingsley. One more thing I want to understand, your source of inspiration, because you are doing a lot of work. So I just want to understand who inspired you, or who are inspiring you.
That's a good question. I
Yes.
think one of them would be have a good support system, a strong support system.
Mhm.
One of them is Bas Dijkstra. The other one is Jesse Freeman. The last one is Don.
Okay.
These are great men in the API security space.
Okay.
I don't do things alone. I feel strongly supported by them. So
Okay.
when I show up, I know I have the backing of these great, professionals.
Okay.
And lastly, I have a mentor as well. He's in Dubai. His name is Hamad. Hamad has just been an amazing person. So I have a strong support system, and that has been my motivation. Secondly, is the feedback that I get from attendees of these events.
Mm-hmm.
Just when they come back and say, Kingsley, thank you for that. Oh, I loved your session. It just gives you this sense of satisfaction, gives me the sense of satisfaction knowing that I'm doing the right thing. And I don't think I want to stop anytime soon.
So my last question would be about the future of security testing, especially in AI era, that I want to understand, and maybe our audience would also looking for this answer.
Hmm, like I would say,
Mm-hmm.
my opinion, right?
Yeah.
So I think we are moving towards, or the future probably would be us getting to a place where, because right now most companies just do penetration testing once or twice in a year. They call in a consultant to have this, stuff, and then they pay them off and then they go. I think we are moving towards the era where testing will be extremely continuous, very intelligent, where an era where security testing would be baked into software development, like everything would be together. Nobody is working in silos anymore, right? So at the end of the day, once there's a change in the code or there's a change in the APIs, we're getting real-time feedback, and it's no longer like a one-off. And AI, DevSecOps, all of these things, they would definitely transform the industry. So, like I said, rather than just having a one-off 2 times, pen testing sessions, it's going to be fully baked into the software development lifecycle. And in the future too, I hope in the future testers too, just to add, we'll have more testers talking about security testing,
Yeah.
API security, and all of that. That's what I hope to see in the future. We shouldn't just, the space is still,
Yeah.
there's just no noise, like it's still quiet. When I go on LinkedIn, I'm seeing people talking about other things and
Yeah.
can be really, really, so I'm looking at a time where, testers will be doing thorough work, doing all of these things before it gets to the experts at the end of the day.
Yes. Hopefully in 2025, or maybe in upcoming years,
Mhm.
security testing would become a essential part for QA,
Mhm.
right? Okay, thanks, Kingsley, for sharing your knowledge, and I hope audience will love this conversation. Especially, they would understand how exactly they can start upskilling into security testing after watching this episode. So, thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.